Welcome everyone to the Creative Kitchen, and in this episode we're actually going to look at another recipe not created by myself, and we're going to try to recreate it the best we can. So this recipe was developed by Glen from Glen and Friends Cooking. It's an awesome YouTube channel. I suggest you guys go check it out. When you go down into the description to find the recipe with the amounts and the method, you'll find the link to his video, because I'm just recreating it the best I can. So what you don't see is that me actually cutting up all of the candied fruit and candied peel and soaking it in the rum for, I believe it was 4 to 7 days. And you do that because you really want the rum to be infused into those candied peels, and it just adds another layer of flavor. And now here I am after 4 days to a week of marinating the candied fruit, putting together the batter, and I will say this batter for the cake is extremely thick. It's almost, you get a nice arm pump just mixing it all together. And so for the first bit you can use a handheld mixer, but once you start adding the flour with all the spices in it, you really need to use a handheld. Here I'm using a plastic spatula. You could use a spoon or anything else, but this does get really thick, with like 3 C's thick. And I added in a little bit at a time just to make it easier with the mixing process. And as you can see, I'll add the fruit after I add in all of the dry ingredients and get this batter really well mixed together. And one of the things that I was really surprised with, especially in this recipe, is just how much of this candied fruit is in an actual fruit cake. It's almost all the candied fruit and very little actual cake. And I think that was really interesting, because if you don't like this candied fruit like at all and really despise it, you're probably not going to like this type of cake at all. Just because, of course, there is so much. And the recipe does make a ton of fruit cake. I mean, it makes a big one. So yeah, I mean, this pot is usually how we make our family pasta dinners. So it's a lot. And here I am adding in some toasted walnuts. I toasted them myself. And this is honestly my favorite part of this whole cake, just because I'm not a huge fan of the candied peel. I don't mind it so much, but getting a crunchy bit of walnut in every bite is definitely a really nice part. And of course, I'm going to really, get a workout in here, folding it all together and making sure it's all well mixed. And like I said, it makes a ton. And here I am putting it in a very well greased and parchment lined baking springform mold, which I think is very important. You really want to grease it down, just so you don't want any of this thing to stick. And here I am tamping it down, getting all the air bubbles out, because it is a very thick cake, so it will trap air bubbles if you're not careful. And here I am putting it in the oven. And so a lot of people ask me why I wanted to make a fruit cake. And really one of the reasons was because, a lot of people, when you talk about fruitcake, automatically dismiss it and say it's, disgusting, it's horrible. And I honestly don't think they've ever actually tried it, or at least tried a homemade one. So I was always really interested in the idea of one. And so I found this recipe from a channel that I really do enjoy, which I mentioned in the beginning, and I decided to give it a go. Now, I actually let the cake rest overnight after pulling it out of the oven, just because it was really late and I didn't feel like wrapping it up then. So, and I will say, it is such a dense cake that even after giving it hours to rest, it was still warm. And so I had just taken this cheesecloth and dipped it in more rum, and I'm going to really welly wrap it up. And you really want to wrap it up really well, because it's going to be sitting in your fridge for months, so you definitely want to make sure all the edges are being thoroughly covered. And of course, take any excess rum and just sprinkle it over the top, because why not? More rum, more better. And then I cover it in another layer of plastic wrap, and I'll actually cover this in a layer of tin foil, because again, it's going to be sitting in the back of my fridge for, in this case, 4 months. So you really want to make sure it's nicely wrapped up. And I will take this out once every month and just give it another brushing of rum, just so that way it really gets infused with all of that flavor. Yes, now after 4 months of having it sit in the back of the freezer, it is finally done. Cut into it on Christmas Eve. shared it with family and friends, and it did get mixed reactions, but overall I think the cake started to grow on me the more I would eat it. And it is such a rich cake that you can only eat a little bit. So would I make this recipe again? Absolutely. Glen definitely created a winner here, and hopefully this becomes a tradition in my family. Thank you guys for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and follow our Instagram to find more up-to-date videos and ideas.